POC Network here with another unboxing, this time coming from the company Philips. We have a familiar product here. This is the Philips Hue Bridge. To my left here we have some of their typical Philips Hue lighting. My right is something new for us. This is their Philips Hue Play light bars, which are kind of cool. So these are the lights that you light up your house with everywhere, and these are the lights this is more for decor purposes. You light up the back of your TV, light up the sides of your TV, or at least the wall to the sides of the TV. You can light up, light behind objects and things to create depth perception throughout the room. You can do all sorts of artistic things with these, which is pretty cool. But it doesn't just stop there. We've covered Philips Hue in the past. They do a lot of great things. It kind of conquers most of the competition out there in the market just because of the sheer level of options that you have. The bridge communicates everything to the lights, allows you to fade them up and down, change colors, do all sorts of different things. You can create scenes and you can interact with so many different third-party solutions like Google Assistant, Alexa. You can do IFTTT, HomeKit, and more. But today we get to talk about something new from Philips in terms of part of their Philips Hue lineup of products, and this just literally came out in October, and it ventures into the realm of bias lighting. Now, we've covered bias lighting before, and this is your typical LED lighting you put behind your TV just to light up the wall behind your TV and create depth. And there's some solutions out there that are more expensive, incredibly more expensive, like some of them come up to like $300 or more, that offer RGB solutions that intercept your HDMI going to the TV and actually interacts with the colors on the edge of your TV to add a little, Shazam to what you're watching and not just eye strain reduction. And those solutions are really cool. Again, they're super expensive and they only do one thing, just that. It ends right there. So Philips has an answer for you that's part of their Philips Hue system, which just literally came out, which is the Philips Hue Play HDMI Sync Box Connect, which is essentially a bias light solution for your Philips Hue system. And it's brand new, it's pretty cool looking, it connects, it basically gathers, it does exactly what the other ones do, it intercepts the HDMI that's going to the TV and communicates that information to the Philips Hue Bridge, which then tells the lights what to do based on whatever this is telling it. So that way, you're able to get your Philips Hue lights to interact with what's going on the screen. So that's where these come into play, where you can actually attach these to the back of your TV and use them as in place of an LED tape. Use this for bias lighting, or you can put them to the sides of your TV and light up the walls, or you can put them anywhere you want. And this will allow that to interact with the colors on the screen. But it doesn't stop there because it interacts with everything else that's part of the Philips Hue system. So if you have other lights in the room, it'll interact with those lights as well. It has its own app that allows you to configure and control where all those lights are and what you want them to do. So that way it knows how these lights are supposed to interact with what's going on the screen. It's also a little bit expensive. It's not as bad as some of the other ones. It is $229, and you do require the rest of the system already. But it is cheaper than some of those alternatives that simply just have an LED tape going around the back of the TV. So it does so much more than that. And that's what places this ahead of the game because, it kind of makes the other ones look kind of boring. But what we're gonna do today is we're gonna open up this box, we're gonna see what's inside of it. What does it come with? And then we'll go check it out and see what it looks like. You get some documentation here. You have a user manual, which is really short and sweet. It shows you how easy it is to set everything up. You have some disclaimers here, and it looks like multiple different languages maybe. Yep. And that's, all the stuff that nobody really reads, unfortunately. And then you have the HDMI Sync Box Connect, and it looks a lot like a Netgear router, I guess you could say, a consumer level, just basic run-of-the-mill Netgear router, but it sits flat on your entertainment system, and it has 4 HDMI inputs going across the back. And each one of these HDMI inputs can be a device that's feeding the Connect box, and then it takes everything and routes everything out one HDMI going to the TV. Now, each and every single one of these is HDMI 2.0, so it does pass 4K with support for HDCP 2.2. And so if you have a 4K TV, a 1080p TV, it doesn't matter, it's going to be able to, or should be able to pass through your signal just fine. And then on the back you also have a USB or micro USB connection, and of course the port for the power, which has a similar switch that's configurable to wherever you live in the world. This one comes with the proper one for the US. This actually has 3 outputs on the bottom, which is similar to the plug that actually comes with the Philips light bar. So the light bar lights should be able to connect to this as well. So maybe plug this in the middle and the light bar going that way, light bar going that way. That way it reduces the number of plugs you have running all over the place. You also get one HDMI cable, HDMI 2.0 cable, So it's easy as that. You connect all your devices to the box translates everything based on what you configure in the app to where all the lights are and everything and what lights will need to interact, and tells the bridge what to do. The bridge tells all the lights what to do, and next thing you know, you have an intense bias lighting and room lighting experience to go along with whatever content you're watching on the TV. So the exciting part, of course, is what does it look like? Does it work? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go set this up. We're gonna configure it up in one of our demo rooms, and we're gonna see what it looks like and see how well it performs based on whatever's on the screen. And that way you get to see if it's really worth the hype that seems to be really drawing in based on the description of things. So let's go check it out. So what we got here is we have the system set up in one of our demo rooms here. We have the 2 play light bars that are positioned underneath the TV. We didn't want to actually put them on the TV, so we don't know how long these are sticking around. So we put them underneath the TV to try to capture the wall in the bottom corners there. We also have 2 lights on both sides, kind of out of frame right now, that's just kind of given some accent light coming in from the sides. Each and every single one of these lights are now synced with Philips Sync Box, and it's communicating to the Philips Hue, which is in the same room, which is, again, communicating everything to the lights. The configuration and setup of the Sync Box is actually pretty easy. You do have to download a second app, which I mentioned, which is you install side by side with the Philips Hue Bridge app, and this is the Philips Sync app, so the Philips Hue Sync app, and it's for Android and iOS. And what it does is it walks you through getting everything to communicate with the bridge with. It's going to ask you to create an entertainment zone and ask you what lights are in the immediate area, and it's going to focus on what's really close to the TV more than anything. And then, of course, some of the area that's closer to the user. So if you have like lights right above your head, if you're using Philips Hue light bulbs above you on the ceiling, you can integrate those as well. It's going to see if the lights are compatible. It's going to see if it requires a firmware update in order for these lights to properly work with the Sync Box. And then it's going to ask you where they're at, in reference to where the TV is, as well as distance from the floor to the ceiling. So you have floor, TV, and ceiling height for each and every individual light that you're using for this. If it finds that any of the lights are not compatible and just needs a firmware update to fix that, it's going to walk you through doing that. It is going to take some time. If you're familiar with Hue light bulbs, then you're probably familiar with the fact that it does take anywhere between usually 15 minutes to sometimes even a half an hour, supposedly more for some individuals, for the driver updates or the firmware updates to actually take on each light. In our case, it took us about maybe 15 minutes for the update to take to each light. We did have to update all 4 bulbs in order to be able to make this happen, but the process did work. Everything synced up. The initial experience when we were adding them to the app to determine where their location was to the TV, it led to a screen where it asks you, do the lights look accurate to the colors on the screen? And the lights just start blinking all sorts of colors. They're not actually following the animation properly. They're all in sync, changing colors and just rotating through that, and it makes you think, wait a minute, it's not working. Those aren't the colors that's happening on the screen. But what you're looking for is those shades of color to do the average shade of each red, blue, yellow, and so forth match the shades of red, blue, yellow, and so forth that are on your TV. And if it's at least close, then you're good to go. You say, hey, this is great. If not, then it'll ask you to hit a button. It'll try to reconfigure itself or calibrate and then ask you again. Once you're happy, you hit go. It's going to lead you to the screen where it's going to be able to start syncing to all the content on the TV. It's going to start from the top where you're going to determine what sync mode you're looking for. Is it videos, music, or video games? And then you have intensity levels for subtle, moderate, high, and extreme. And then you have brightness to determine how bright it's going to be, and then of course start and stop at the very bottom to actually get the system going. And this is where the lights are going to start interacting, as you can see on the screen. So for brightness, you can take them really bright like this and just really get that intensity going, or you can take and dial them way down so that they're just a very mild reaction to what's going on. We find that somewhere is about 40-45% of the way seems to be the best. It's less distracting. It does give that ooh and ah, especially if you have a party going on. As for adding to what you see on the screen, we find that some of us feel that it's kind of distracting. Some of us feel that it's kind of interesting, kind of creates something more to what we're watching. If you do feel like this is a little bit distracting to you, you can set it to moderate for the intensity level, subtle even if you feel like you just want the tiniest of changes here and there to affect the lights. High is really gonna, like we were originally saying, it's really gonna give it some reaction, but right now, like for example, we have it on moderate. It's just kind of smoothly scrolling around, it's relaxing, it's not too distracting to what's on the screen. And subtle, if we switch to that, it doesn't really provide a lot of change. It's a very soft change between colors, and when you do that, sometimes it can actually completely miss what's on the screen altogether. So it's more so it's sometimes the light interacts with, sometimes it doesn't, with what's going on the TV. And then of course you can put it to extreme where everything's just like flash, flash, boom, boom, change, change, and everything's just on, go. And you don't have that smooth transition as much as you would with high or moderate. So we feel that the best transition amongst most of these, as some of the videos we've been watching, is moderate. It's less distracting. It does add to the experience a little bit. When people are walking by, they are going, hey, that looks really cool. And this is what Philips Hue Sync box looks like. So wow your friends, install something like this in your living room today, and you can do something just like this. You don't need the bias lighting behind the TV for that simple little look. You can have your whole room instead react to it and give it that much larger presence than what a little LED strip's gonna look for. So again, this is the Philips Hue Sync box. We're gonna have links in the description, check them out. We're also gonna have a full story about this later on at POCnetwork.net. So definitely follow us on POCnetwork.net, see what we have to say about this later on when we've given it more time to really test this out against games and movies and more to see what we really think for our final verdict. So again, that's POCnetwork.net. And if you liked what you've seen here, don't forget to subscribe below. There's that subscription button down there, as well as a comment section so we can all talk about this. Maybe you're thinking about getting one of these yourself, or the similar system set up in your house, or maybe you already have one, so definitely share in the comments. And as always, we thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. If you want to stay on top of all the latest and greatest, and or at least the gadgets we cover, remember to subscribe right here. Subscription button. Click it. You're going to want to. There's lots of videos, interviews, previews, all sorts of stuff. Button. Click it.